My name is Jory Felice. I'm interested in sharing with you some things I have learned about literacy assessments. Specifically, it's the running records assessment I want to tell you about, but before I begin, I'd like for us to discuss the topic of literacy assessments a bit more generally. For starters, can anybody tell me what a literacy assessment is?
It's a teaching tool we use to gauge our students' reading levels.
Right.
It's a way to check learning progress.
Okay. Very true. Why is that important?
Because that's our job. We want our students to develop and grow.
We need to measure learning progress in order to know that we are reaching our goals.
Right. This is all true and good.
Oh.
Yes, you have something else to add.
Yes, I do. The literacy assessment is important to my classroom because we'll be spending more time with written content this year. My new lesson plans include more independent reading. I want to be sure that my students will have the appropriate content so they are challenged, but also comfortable, confident in their understanding. Very good.
Very good. Let's move on, shall we? I have already told you the name of the assessment we are using.
Running records.
Running records.
Yes, it's the running records. We are actively measuring the reading fluency of our students, their reading comprehension, and their skill at drawing inferences. We assess these abilities at the beginning of the year, in September, and those results are recorded and placed in a file. In our running records system, we keep an individual file for each of our students. Mid-year, January perhaps, we assess each student again, looking to see what progress has been made in their ability. They may have increased their reading skills and moved ahead several levels. It's really something to see. If they have not made much progress, that's something we want to address. We all want to know this information so we can support each student where they are at. Again, this mid-year assessment is added to the running record file for that student. We do it again at the end of the year, in June, and it's ongoing. We pick it up again in the fall when they return. If they ended the year at level R, we will test them at level S or level T. Summer reading may have been just the thing that a student needed to move to the next level. Or maybe they just enjoyed a break from school and for whatever reason, they are now reading up a level or two. In any case, we can assess the progress and provide an appropriate level of materials and instruction to further nurture these bright young minds.
What does the assessment process look like?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Let me show you. We are now testing our students' independent reading levels. We use the tests that are published by Teachers College Reading and Writing Project. Can anybody tell us about the TCRWP?
Yes. This is the organization founded in 1981 by Lucy Calkins. They have a wealth of resources available online. I highly recommend you have a look at the work they produce. I will share some links to this program.
Lucy Calkins is also the Robinson Professor in Children's Literature at Teachers College, Columbia University, and she co-directs the Literacy Specialist program there.
Thank you both. For our purposes today, we are limiting our focus to the literacy assessments. Here is a sample assessment, Independent Reading Level R. Our assessee will be reading an excerpt pages 2-3 from Zelie by Virginia Hamilton. It has a word count of 285 words. In the interest of time, we could suggest that our student reads the text and summarize it. If this summary is sufficient, you may skip to the next level. At the point when comprehension begins to be compromised, that's when we will want to do the full running record. In this case, we will ask the student to reread the text aloud. We begin with this introduction. You will be reading part of a story about a girl named Elizabeth. In this part, Elizabeth and her brother John are being dropped off at a train station by their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Perry. So, take 1 second and think, what do you already know about what this story is going to be about? Running record text.
Aren't train stations just grand? She said. Look at those pillars. I bet they're all of 3 feet around. And the windows. Did you ever see anything so very high up? The windows were enormously wide and high. John Perry forgot his fear and lifted his head. He smiled up at the windows. Sunlight streaming down exposed sparkles of dust in a shaft to where they stood. Mr. and Mrs. Perry looked up, too. They all stood there, separated from the busy waiting room by the peaceful light and shadow. It was Mrs. Perry who remembered there was a train to catch. Oh, my. Hurry, you two, she said to John and Elizabeth.
We asked the student to summarize the story. Say, can you think back over this part of the story and summarize it? Try to describe the big events, what happens, as well as what you learn about the characters. In your summary, be sure that you 1. Include important events. 2. Include ideas you have about the characters, what you learn about them. 3. Do not include minor details, predictions, wonderings. If we are unsure about their comprehension, we can turn to the exemplar summaries to see what a benchmark summary includes. We can continue by asking the comprehension questions included in the assessment. If the summary seems complete, we might skip the questions and move to the next level text, the level S or T in our case. Let's consider some of the reading behaviors we look for and assess. The reader reads unfamiliar and multisyllabic words, using knowledge of phonics, word parts to word solve. The reader knows when parts go together and takes noticeable pauses when they do. The reader uses the punctuation to make the reading sound like a story. The reader reads through whole scenes and parts. The reader uses the punctuation and dialogue and meaning to make the reading sound like a story, including voices of the characters. To make these assessments as inclusive and sustainable as possible, our students might use more than one modality to summarize and to answer comprehension questions. For instance, they might tell us their responses as we transcribe, they might write their responses, or they might record their responses to our questions. Additionally, this assessment can be adapted for distance learning. The same process we just reviewed can be conducted using video conferencing. We would present the assessment sample text using our distance learning platform and make our assessment by listening, viewing, and conversing remotely. Does the student have 96% accuracy? We rely on the teacher manual for further details and suggestions for how best to proceed, including how to evaluate reading behaviors. For level R, we want to consider, has our student given an accurate summary of the text or given a somewhat accurate summary of the text? Have they answered 3 out of 4 of the questions with accuracy? When they have met these objectives, we move to the next level. When we reach a level in our assessment where they are not able to meet the literacy objectives, we conclude our assessment. We then record the highest reading level where they were successful. Having identified the level at which our student successfully reads and successfully comprehends text, we better recommend books and design classroom instruction that will be accessible and/or challenging in a way that will support their development. Thank you for your participation. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way.